Testing 1, 2. Oh, good. Kath, can you hear me? If you and Eddie can hear me, let me know, okay? How about now? Is there sound now? All right. Are you comfortable there? You got dinner? You got some drinks? You're good to go? Okay, good. um, Eddie must be asleep by now, right? Okay. The only thing with the live stream is we have to use this for them to hear it. Okay?
Where is she? Is she? Hey, Kathy. Is she? How do you know she's on? Did she text you? Well, she told me she was going to, and I said I'm going to text with her, and then I'll say, we have a question from Connecticut.
That's why I gave her my phone number. Good.
I had to run back. The tablecloth was too short.
Oh, so you tried it.
I tried it.
I'm so glad you did.
And I run back. He didn't have that color, so he didn't have that one on the right size.
And I agree. I mean, if Eddie and Kathy really have to go with us. Oh, sure. Sorry. So you got a different one?
I got this one.
Oh.
And then he didn't have any matching napkins, so I got these because there is
That's
purple in
enough.
it. So
That's
I said,
close
all right,
enough.
we'll be crazy.
How you doing?
Okay. I'm white. And now Talia really wants to go to San Diego. So
She wants to go where?
San Diego instead of Sedona. Do you know Sedona's an 8-hour drive, right?
Yeah,
I
I do know.
Okay.
San Diego's better. I'll take San Diego.
Yeah, but okay, so I found a perfect house. It's $3,000 from Monday to Friday. So I don't know. We have to stop. And I said, Talia, I spent the past.
Why does she want San Diego?
She just loves the beach. It just lives her. And Ari and Avi or whatever.
Right.
So I said, I'm done. I researched for an hour. I sent her some times. I'm done. If you want to research, I'm going to book it before I leave for Canada. And if not, this is the answer.
Right. What's it? Lalo, it's good. It's working. Live streaming is working. We're good to go. Thank you. All right, I think we get started. All right. Why not? Thank you, Jen. You'll always. So, by the way, it would be easy not to use a microphone in a small group like this, but we actually have somebody live streaming from Connecticut who's already confirmed on the trip. Dear old friends of Rhodey's and mine, and another couple with them, because you have to find the right group. And they heard that this is the best group to go with. So, frankly, they're coming from Connecticut for this. How many of you have confirmed and are definitely signed up for this trip already? Raise your hand. All right. So that's just about everybody here. That's fabulous. We have so far 30 people, if you count Rhodey and me, I think confirmed and signed up. And we don't want a lot more, the truth of the matter is, do we? I mean, 40 would be it. Like, that's it. If you haven't met Moniz Newman before, she is the heart and soul of this trip in terms of planning it and so organized and everything that you could need and all the special arrangements that some of you want to make in terms of going beforehand someplace or going afterwards someplace. She's going to help make that a reality as well. I don't know about you, Lee. Do you have a hard time when you talk about going to Auschwitz with family, friends? Do you have a hard time putting it into words or no? Like, it's hard to say, like, I'm so excited to go to Auschwitz. Right? Isn't that right? Like what words? You're like, I'm so excited to go to the death camp. Right? But there's something that drives us to want to confront that period of history as you only can there. It's one thing, it's like going to Israel. Like you can read about it all you want, but until you're there, right? Until you see that entrance to Auschwitz, the famous entrance, there is, it's just theoretical. And so we're confronting it. And there is a sense of, if you will, of connection and of desire and of anticipation, and yet words hard to describe, right? Like it's a hard thing to say, but you should have the sense of, if you will, facing history, confronting it, and making it yours. Right? That's what it really is. It's about personalizing it in a way that you can only do from that experience. And we're going to challenge, and you're going to learn a lot. Tonight, we're going to be talking about issues of ethics in the Holocaust. This trip, by the way, has made me, I've taken numerous classes in the Holocaust, in Israel, in here. I've written papers on the Holocaust. You can imagine I was a Jewish studies major in college and then in rabbinical school. And it's brought back, and I've read, I can't tell you how many autobiographies and books on it. And we're going to talk perhaps later, only if we get to the Judenrat, right? Only if that happens. Is it mentioned in this? It's not mentioned. So we're going to talk about the Judenrat, if you don't know, was the Jewish communal councils that were run within the ghettos, in which Jews were responsible, pushed by the Germans, to administer the life of the Jews within the ghettos. And the degree that they were complicit in helping the Germans, or the degree that they were, if you will, trying to alleviate the pressure and the life and the pain of the Jews, that's the balance. You're going to hear about somebody who was actually the author of the Sophie's Choice, the producer of Sophie's Choice. And it's really raised for me, and what I hope this is going to do for you, the idea is before we leave, is that you begin to think about these issues. That's what these evenings are about, is for you to allow you to shape in a different context as well what that experience is going to be about and how you can confront history, not just as the persecution and the death of Jews, but rather what was that experience throughout the Holocaust about. From the very beginning, by the way, 1933, I haven't shared this story very much. 1933, what was so important about history in Germany in 1933? The putsch of Hitler, right, of which there was an attempt by him to create a coup in Germany and to take over. It failed. He was put in jail, which is where he wrote Mein Kampf. And it all happened in Bavaria in a beer hall. That beer hall putsch is what it's called. So I went about 10 years ago or 12 years ago with a group from the Southern California Board of Rabbis. I was the president at the time. It took about 18 rabbis. We went to Germany and to Israel. Yom HaShoah, we were there the same time, Holocaust Memorial Day in Germany. By the way, in one of the few surviving synagogues in Berlin. Why did it survive from Kristallnacht? By the way, we just recognized Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, 1938. In which, by the way, transformed the moment. If you don't know, Kristallnacht is the reason that Hitler could get away with what he did. Why? Because 30,000 Jews were sent off to concentration camps. I want to say 250, 300 Jews were killed. 7,000 businesses were looted. 2,500 synagogues, something like that, were vandalized or destroyed. And the next day, Germans did nothing. The German non-Jews did nothing. Hitler knew. No one's going to say anything. So we went and we sat in the synagogue was in the middle of a German apartment complex. And it's the only reason why they didn't set fire to the synagogue is because it would have, where they lived, it would have burned the surrounding apartment complex. It's the only reason that synagogue. We sat there on Yom HaShoah. And then a couple days later, we went to the Bavarian Pool Hall, group of 18 rabbis wearing kippot, sat at a table, ordered beer, and basically said, up yours, Hitler. Right? We felt that somehow confronting somehow for us, personalizing, if you will, what it's about. And you're going to have these moments, right, Monique? You're going to have these moments that's going to personalize in many ways. They're going to be powerful, sometimes painful. Joe, we're going to be dealing with your father, whether it's your father who just passed away, he was from that area. And so it can be for your family, and you're like focusing on trying to figure out where the family is from exactly. And if you haven't done any of that research, if you have family, this is the time to do it. Find out where they were from, what the part of their lives were. So this isn't just about getting ready for the trip in terms of the logistics, which we're going to deal with. It's not just about learning the dates of the Holocaust or other things. It's about preparing you for your own personal journey and how you're going to get the most out of the trip. Martin, did you have a question or no? Right, so April 19th, Passover of that year was Warsaw Uprising, and we're going to learn much more about that. The Germans who thought it was going to take them, I want to say, 3 weeks or less to destroy and to get rid of all the Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto, and it ended up taking 3 months. It was like they just did not anticipate it. Anyway, Moniz, I'm going to let you get going, and please, thank you, Moniz.
Thank you, Rabbi Vogel. I have to use this because they're streaming. Thank you all for being here, and I have to begin by thanking Rabbi Vogel. When I contacted him 2 years ago and I said, Rabbi Vogel, I have an idea. And it came to fruition 2 years later. And I also have to thank Lisa, because without Lisa, this wouldn't have happened. So, and Lisa's going. So, I thank you all for being here. And what I want to do tonight, we will go over the logistics, I promise, about hotels and flights and all that kind of stuff, because I know that is very important. It's also to begin to think about this journey. 6 million people died. It's a very hard number to begin to think about. I'm not really into sports, but I do know that at the Rose Bowl that they can hold 90,000 people. So I did the math today. And if you filled the Rose Bowl 66 times, you would get 6 million people. But you cannot come on this journey. And many of you have family members who were in the Holocaust or survived or died. I think it's really important that you come on this journey to understand the story of one person at a time. One brother, one sister, one child. Every year, the march, which on April 21st, on Yom HaShoah, there will be 10,000 people from 52 different countries and states who will be walking, who will be doing a thing that 6 million Jews couldn't do. They're walking out. They're walking out of Arbeit macht frei. So thank you for being part of that number that is really a march of life. What we want to do tonight a little bit before we go into logistics is begin to tell the story of one person at a time. I'm not sure if anybody knew, about 2 weeks ago in the news, there was the story that a gentleman by the name of Branko Lustig died. Branko Lustig was the producer of Schindler's List, Hannibal, Sophie's Choice. But more importantly for this context, Branko Lustig was from Croatia. And at the age of 12, he was a prisoner in Auschwitz. His father died. His mother survived. He actually worked kind of in a salt mine, and he liked that because he could keep warm. And 66 years after he was liberated from Auschwitz, he had his bar mitzvah on the March of the Living in 2011, outside bunk number 24, where he was a prisoner. What I'd like to do today, just to start, with Lisa's help, is show you Branko Lustig's bar mitzvah speech when he was in his late 60s, early 70s. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the story of what happened to Branko's father. Again, one person at a time. This is just 3 minutes, and this is his speech.
Yamo יעמוד מר ברנקו לוסטיק. זה בסדר. צבי?
לוי בן צבי.
לוי בן צבי של אישי חזק.
קחו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מאת כל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן הנורא, אמן. Most bar mitzvah boys thank their parents for helping to make this day possible. For me, it's the same, but I must also include my dear wife Miriam and my daughter Sarah, and so many special friends, and my dear friend in Los Angeles, Phil Blazer, and Itzhak Adidze, who is here, who came from Moscow to be with me on this day. Thank you. What other bar mitzvah would afford the opportunity to salute so many wonderful people who have entered my life since my 13th birthday, which fell on the first day of the Hebrew month of Shivan in 1944. On that date, I was living not in Bel Air or Zagreb or Tel Aviv or Buenos Aires, but in Barak 24, near the entrance gates of Auschwitz. Of course, in Barak 24, a bar mitzvah celebration was not allowed. That day, the advent of my Jewish manhood simply came and went like any other day in concentration camp. I was born Tzvi ben Levi on the 10th of June 1932 in Croatia to Mirko and Vilma Lustig. I clearly remember my days as a child and my arrival at Auschwitz. They were dark days. My mother survived, but my father did not. Because I was still a child, the adult inmates of the camps pleaded me to tell the story of what happened to the Jewish people so that would never, never repeat. Steven Spielberg and others give me the opportunity to keep my promise to those many unfortunate Jews who died before my eyes. The unforgettable story of Schindler's List touched the hearts of million upon million people, as did my other film, Sophie's Choice, Winds of War, and War and Remembrance. The message I want to share today is the most important one I learned from my years in the concentration camp. It's the message of tolerance. We must all get along. We must strive to respect and love one another so that the horrific days of the Holocaust will never visit us again. Tolerance is my bar mitzvah wish today, and never again is my hope and my dream for always. Thank you.
That's Franco's story. As he mentioned, his father didn't survive the war.
And the Oscar for the Best Picture of 1993 goes to Schindler's List. Steven Spielberg, Gerald Mullen, and...
A noted historian by the name of Robert Langer introduced the concept when it came to the Holocaust of choiceless choices. When one choice was bad, the other was worse. I obviously was not born in this country, but I am a very proud American. And the first time I went into a restaurant, I remember them saying, I said, I'd have a tuna sandwich. And they say, well, you want white bread or wheat bread? Do you want potato salad or coleslaw? You want ketchup or you want mustard? I thought to myself, those are choices. I just want a sandwich. And the idea of choices that we have in our life are something that we deal with every day. But it is with much gratitude that we don't have to deal with the kind of choices that you're going to be not experiencing, but learning about that happened. And I'm going to ask you to step foot onto this journey with no judgment, because we cannot walk in their footsteps. Bronco Lustig's father, he told the story when he was making Hannibal. It was raining one day, and he told the story of what happened to his father, to the crew. And the crew was so moved by what happened. As a gift to Bronco, they made this 12-minute movie that captures what happened to his father. Again, I'm going to ask you not to begin to think, as Rabbi said, about the kinds of experiences that we cannot fathom. And the big question is, what would we do? This is based on the true story of Milka Lustig, who was a prisoner in Auschwitz. And thank God for Lisa, because she can do yeah, that's it, if you can just press play. Can everybody see?
Marco, du sollst doch nicht immer die Tür offen lassen.
Sind Sie? Ist Dave? Heißen Sie lustig?
Bitte, kommen Sie hier rein. Nehmen Sie Platz. Möchten Sie ein Glas Wasser haben?
Ja, bitte. Ja.
Franco, go und hol ihm was zu trinken. Schnell, schnell.
Ich bin froh, dass Sie überlebt haben.
Dankeschön. Danke.
Danke.
Möchten Sie noch mehr haben?
Nein, danke. Ich war mit Ihrem Mann in Auschwitz. Wir haben vereinbart, die Familien zu benachrichtigen, wenn einem von uns was zustößt. Ihr Mann ist in den letzten Tagen vor Ende des Krieges verstorben.
Wer war das? Wer war das? Warst du das? Warst du das? Warst du das? Oder du? Warst du das? Warst du das? Warst du das? Wenn ihr das so haben wollt, tu ich euch den Gefallen. Ich zähle bis 10. Und wenn es bis dann keinen Zug gibt, erschieße ich 3 von euch. Und du! Schnell, 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 schnell! Ich pasch. Schau mich an. Schau mich an.
Ihr Mann war ein Held. Er hat uns an diesem Tag allen das Leben gerettet.
Ich kann mich nicht mehr erinnern, wie er aussah. Ich kann mich nicht mehr erinnern.
Wir haben gar keine Bilder mehr. Sie haben uns alles weggenommen.
Ich sage Ihnen das, weil er ein wirklicher Held war. Es gibt da noch etwas, was ich Ihnen sagen muss. Ich habe den Laut von mir gegeben. Ich war der Feigling. Ich war der Feigling.
I didn't mean to throw you into this journey like this. I've seen this many times, and it still haunts me. I'll be honest, I hear that German officer's voice in my brain very often. But what I'd like you to do is to come on this journey, to please see, when you look at the faces in Auschwitz on the wall, beginning or attempting to comprehend the incomprehensible. I can tell you now, as I've told you before, this is my 18th time. I cannot understand it. And people say, how can you cry? And I say, how can I not cry? And then the next day you're going to stand, and it's a march of life, because you're going to see 10,000 people who've come to say, like Rabbi Vogel said, we're still here. So this is the story of Broncholustic and his father. And there are many things that we can talk about, and I'm going to actually ask Rabbi Vogel to come up. But the point is why did he go back? What would you have done? These are the layers of discussions that we have to begin to think about. And this is what you're going to be facing when you go on this journey. Plus a lot of laughter. Plus a bottle of whiskey on the bus. Because sometimes you just need a shot. Yeah.
You know what? When I teach the Holocaust, especially to kids and teens, I always tell them I hate the number 6 million because it's just too round. It's just a big number. I think the true number is something they believe, right? It's all at best they can put together 6,003,003 something. I mean that they can try and get to. But I always, for me, when I teach it, I talk about 6,000,001 Jews were murdered. And that one makes it human. The rabbis say that they ask, why is it that in the Torah one person was created? Why one human like Adam? Why not God just say, I'm going to make 10. Let's start with 1,000,000 and let them go out and do. Right? But the rabbi said to teach us that every human being is like a world unto itself. Every human being is a universe. If you imagine how many universes were lost in the Holocaust, to oversimplify it to 6 million is an absurdity. And so what you're going to hear is the stories throughout the trip of the one. How many of you have been to Yad Vashem? Right, so many of you remember that old with the candles that you could see, and like just through a few you could see the millions of reflections. And now they have. How many of you have been to the new Yad Vashem, by the way? Okay, the new Yad Vashem is very different, by the way, much more elegant, much more really in terms of, right, if those of you who have been there, it really tells the story in a much better way. We're doing Yad Vashem? We're not going to do it in Israel. It's too, we have enough of Poland, but if you can, and the idea is that you hold on to the oneness of the people's stories. We just had, Rhodey and I last summer were with a family, Jill, Lauren, no, why am I saying Lauren? Your daughter. Mary, I'm going through your whole family. We were with the Tenenbaums for Ella's bat mitzvah, and we went to Yad Vashem, and she got actually a kid who didn't survive the Holocaust and was able to twin and during her service. That was very common many years ago, was to have a twin to tell the story of the one. And so that's what you're going to be doing, bearing testimony, not to the whole thing necessarily. That's going to be important to confront it, but the one. Please.
I'm going to, again, just before we go to logistics, I'm going to ask just to pass this around if anybody wants to just take one, or just we can share it or something. But I'd like to, again, you will have a historian on the bus with you. Her name is Liz Ellsby. And I must tell you, you're in for a treat. Not only will you have Rabbi Vogel, but you'll have Liz, who's going to bring the story to life. She is a guide and a historian, and she makes this very real. I'd like to just take a second, again, to focus on another story, to begin to think about what would you do? And may, as I said, may we never, ever have to think about the kinds of things that people had to decide. Adam Chenyenko was the head of the Judenrat in Warsaw. And I don't know if everybody can get one, but if somebody, just if you're sick of my accent, if somebody wouldn't mind reading the very first paragraph. Are there enough? No. Okay. We can just share. No, there should be enough. Here you go. Okay. Does anybody want to read the first paragraph? Leslie. And Leslie, I'm going to give you the mic so the people who are streaming can.
The dilemma. You are the head of the Judenrat Jewish police force in the Warsaw Ghetto. Over the past couple of years, you have followed Nazi orders and carried out their edicts in hopes of keeping the peace in the ghetto and keeping as many people safe as possible. One of your responsibilities as the head of the Jewish council in the ghetto is to organize deportations for the Nazis. They give you a list of criteria, numbers and/or names of people to be deported, and it is your job to make sure people report for deportation on time. On July 22nd, 1942, you received the final order of liquidation for the Warsaw Ghetto. No person, regardless of age, sex, or social status, is to be spared. Everyone is being deported to the east. You are torn because while you've organized these deportations before, in the back of your mind, you've always hoped that this would be the last one, and that some of the Jewish population in Warsaw would be spared. Now you are being asked to knowingly send all of Warsaw's Jews to their deaths, and there is simply no way around it.
I would generally ask you just to read the options by yourself, but because we're streaming live to Connecticut, if somebody would just read the options so that our fellow travelers would know. Ken?
What do? You have two options. One, carry out the order as instructed. You know that trying to resist it is a lost cause. You will be killed and the liquidation of the ghetto would happen anyway. You also know that ultimately you and your family will be sent with the final transports of Jews, so why not carry out the order and give yourself and the rest of the ghetto inmates a chance to fight for their own survival. The catch: can you live with the fact that you are responsible for organizing the complete liquidation of your people, knowing that the vast majority, if not all of them, would be killed as a result? Sure. Two, take your own life rather than comply with his order. You know that if you don't do as the Nazis have instructed you, you are as good as dead anyway. At least this way you can keep your family out of the immediate danger, and you won't have to live with the fact that you sent hundreds of thousands of innocent people, your people, to their deaths on your conscience. The catch: are you willing to take your own life? Is it worth it? You are ultimately in as much danger as the rest of the Jewish population, so why should they have a chance to at least fight for their lives, and you would not?
Anybody want to posit what they would do? No? Okay, so again, I will tell you that this is a true scenario. This is actually what happened to a gentleman by the name of Adam Chinyankov. Adam was the head of the Judenrat in Warsaw. And the Nazis came to him and said, you have to liquidate the Warsaw ghetto to send everybody to their deaths in Treblinka. Nobody survived Treblinka. And Adam Chinyankov decided he couldn't do it. So he took a cyanide pill and he killed himself. And he left two notes, one to his family and one to the Judenrat. And he said, they're asking me to kill Jewish children, and I can't do it. So he committed suicide. Welcome to March of the Living. With all its, yeah, Jennifer's saying, I'm out. Again, I am not here to put horror in your hearts. I'm actually here to put hope in your heart, because really what you're doing by sitting in this room, you're telling Adam and you're telling all those people, because you are going to a place in Warsaw called the Institute for Jewish history, where they have an exhibit called the Oneg Shabbat Diaries. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie, Who Will Tell Our Story, Who Will Write Our History? It's what happened in the wars when they knew that they were going to die. They hid all their stories and their writing and their pictures in milk cans. And they hid them. And after the war, they were found. And this is a journey to go back to tell them that we didn't forget them. And for that, I am really so profoundly grateful. You will get, the next time we meet, a list of different books and movies if you would like to watch in preparation for this. So we will give all of those to you, and also a little bit about the thing. I took teenagers for 15 years. I never had to worry about restaurants or anything like that. But believe it or not, Krakow and Warsaw are incredibly beautiful cities of the modern world with wonderful restaurants and eating places, and you will have an opportunity if you want to explore that realm of Krakow and Warsaw as well. What I'd like to also do now is I know that some people have questions about logistics, okay, about this trip. So I'm going to do a little bit about that, and then happy to answer, otherwise I'll stay afterwards. The trip is actually going to be starting in Krakow on April 19th. And I can tell you that most people coming on this journey will be in Krakow on April 19th because the march is on Tuesday. It just happens the way that the Hebrew calendar falls, that the march comes up immediately. We're going to be providing for you hotel accommodations on Sunday, April 19th. It'll all be waiting for you, reservations. I can't actually tell you at this point what hotel you're at. It will be a 5-star hotel in Krakow. The International March at this point is trying to place thousands and thousands of people. They've taken every single hotel in Krakow. So as I will know in January, and then as soon as I know, I will let you know. If you want to make reservations, if you want to get early to Krakow, again, because Pesach ends on Thursday and then there's Shabbat. So if people are Shomer Shabbat and don't want to travel, you will be able to get to Krakow by Sunday night. But if you want to leave early, and you can, I highly, highly suggest you go to Krakow early. It is a beautiful, beautiful city that was not destroyed in World War II because it was the Nazi headquarters. It's a beautiful city. There's also, like Bronco actually survived working in the salt mines. About 45 minutes outside, there are world-famous salt mines. The Krakow salt mines, if it is something you want to explore before the program starts. So I also recommend once you go have the hotel name, you just go online and book yourself the room if you're coming early. And they have generally, if it's the same standard room, you can keep your room, the same room starting on Sunday night. Just out of, I know it's early yet, how many people are going to be arriving early so that people know? Okay. We will have a WhatsApp group that we will create for Temple Aliyah. Liz Ellsby, who will be arriving there on Sunday afternoon, has offered to meet you and start touring around, if you would like, on Sunday afternoon. So she is wonderful, and she can take you around to some of those places. Again, it'll all be on WhatsApp. We will start this before you leave, so you'll have in communication. Then on Monday morning, the program will begin. Temple Aliyah will have their own bus. I know people are over 10,000 people, how we're all going on the same places, okay? It's like a big jigsaw puzzle. You will have your own bus, your own driver, your own Polish, what they call a pilot, a Polish guide, historian, and Rabbi Vogel, who will be taking, and Mrs. Vogel. Rhodey. And I'm beginning to date myself, but Rhodey and I spent our junior year abroad together in Israel yesterday, right, Rhodey? Exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm going gray. So you will be on a bus, and you will be traveling with the 35 people, but wherever you go, you'll be running into people that you know. The hotels, the breakfasts are provided for you. The big thing that people complain about is that they don't like the lunches. So I'm a little cynical, forgive me. The food is way better than it was 75 years ago. I mean, it's really perspective. What I'm going to really tell you is bring a little Ziploc. If you don't like the sandwiches or the lunches that the March provides, bring a little kind of silicone thing from the breakfast that make yourself a sandwich. I promise you won't go hungry. And then dinners either are going to be through the March of the Living, but also because people want to explore, we have given you some free options where you can go and book at restaurants or go and explore the city. You can see on the itinerary when is free nights, okay? You're going to be based in Krakow. You're going to see Auschwitz and Birkenau before the program, actually the day of the march, because it's very hard on the day of the march to actually go into the various barracks. We're going to be in Krakow. It's very important that this journey is not about how people only died. It's also how they lived. We're going to see Jewish life before, the richness of Jewish life. We're going to see what happened during World War II, and we're going to see the rebirth of the Polish Jewish community today. In Krakow, there is a JCC, and 75 years after World War II is the first Jewish nursery school in Krakow. So you're going to meet the people at the JCC in Krakow. I have also invited to have Shabbat with you in Warsaw the chief rabbi of Poland, his name is Michael Shudrick, who is actually a graduate of JTS. So to see what's happening today, because what's happening in Poland today is people are discovering that they're Jewish. They didn't know it. And on their grandparents' deathbeds, they're telling them that they're Jewish. And so there's a greater awareness of being Jewish. And before we leave, I'm actually going to bring somebody who discovered her Judaism at the age of 14, a Polish Jew who now lives in LA and is going to come and tell you her story. Once we leave Krakow in that vicinity, we're going to head east to a place called Belzec, which is a very powerful memorial of a death camp. We're going to head up to Lublin, which was the center of Jewish learning. It was a major Jewish yeshiva there. We're going to end in Warsaw, at the Polish portion of this journey. Is anybody just doing the Poland portion? Okay. So once the people who are going to just we're going to go to Israel on Sunday night. On Saturday night, we're actually going to be doing Havdalah with the 222 teens from Los Angeles. We're taking over the Nozhek Synagogue, which is the Orthodox synagogue in Warsaw, and we're going to be doing Havdalah with all these kids and 6 Holocaust survivors to bring back life. We will then be flying to Israel overnight. We're staying in Jerusalem at the Mamila Hotel. It's a very nice hotel. And you just have to figure out how the lights work. It's all this modern technology, which is a little bit hard to do. We will be in the Mamila Hotel. And the program ends on Wednesday night with Yom HaAtzmaut in Israel. At this point, how many people would like to extend their stay in Israel? Okay. Again, you can contact me. Is anybody wanting to leave Israel on Wednesday night, right after the march? Okay. Kathy? Okay. So again, I'm happy with Lisa to coordinate. We will help you try. If you decide you want to stay in Israel, please let me know, because we're going to do one of two things. I can either get you continuous rooms at the Mamila Hotel for additional price, or if you want to move to a different locality, I can help you do that as well. We'll take you to Tel Aviv or to Jerusalem. So just let us know what you want to do, and because you'll also have an Israeli guide with you. You're going to have it on the bus with you, a March of the Living guide who is entrenched just for Temple Aliyah to take care of all your logistical needs. So in case there's any problem, there'll be somebody on the march who'll arrange your food and your luggage and everything. You don't have to worry about that. The program ends at Latrun, which is a celebration of about 5,000 Jewish children and adults. And as I've told the story before, every year I say, I'm never doing this again. I can't, it's just too hard. And then I go to Latrun, and I see these 5,000 Jewish kids from all across the world singing and dancing, singing Hatikva. I said, okay, one more year. So one more year. And I really hope that you feel the same way as I do about the power of this journey. It's one person. It's you and your experience. I just have also one other question. Anybody in this room have parents who, or family members who survived the Holocaust or were murdered in the Holocaust? I'm really going to also ask you to bring their stories with you. Because on the buses, with Rabbi Vogel and with Liz, we want to tell the stories. We want to pay homage to them. So if you're comfortable, and if there's a place where we're going, we've actually gone back to some houses, and if we're going to any area where we can actually find the house, and it works with our program, we'd be happy to do that as well. And if anybody wants to go beforehand to trace the routes or to go back, please let me know, because I can actually help you find a guide who can take you back to the hometown. Is there any other questions before Rabbi Vogel wraps up here? And anybody have any questions about that we haven't covered? You can buy your plane tickets. I will have a hotel room waiting for you, so you can buy your plane tickets to get there. 1,000%, it's happening. Absolutely, it's happening. Yeah. Yeah, we thought about, yeah, it is in English. Jonathan Ornstein, who you will meet, he actually started to pull up billboards all throughout Krakow, just with a challah and candlesticks, with the words obviously in Polish saying, if you have these in your lives and you don't understand why, come and find out. And people are walking into the JCC all the time to reconnect with their Jewish heritage. Yeah. Yeah, Lisa has it. I have the itinerary. I have the facts. It's all, I can send it to you, not a problem. Other information that you're still looking for that isn't, please let me know, and I can make a plan to get to you what you need. Okay, so I'll send you what we have, and if you have more. Okay. Yes. And yeah. And also, if people would like, sometimes making plane reservations or flights is a little bit overwhelming, I have a wonderful travel agent who I have worked with for many years by the name of Bob Kern. I couldn't get his card, so what I did is I wrote on the back of my card his telephone, and I contacted him. I said, I'm giving it to people at Temple Aliyah. It's his cell phone, it's his email. He is wonderful. He's been working with the March for many, many years. Please feel free to contact him. He has the itinerary for Temple Aliyah, and he's happy to help you with any kinds of flights. So it's Bob Kern from P&R Travel, and my telephone number and my email. You need to fly into Krakow. You're flying into Krakow. If you're not going to Israel, you're flying from Warsaw. Okay. Please know, you need to get yourself to Krakow You need to get yourself home from Israel. Because we will provide you the flight from Warsaw to Tel Aviv. The International March will take care of that. You know, there are many tricks of the trade. There is a direct flight, LOT Airlines, Polish Airlines. It's a very safe airline. No, seriously, I've flown it for many years. There is a direct flight from Los Angeles to Warsaw. It's like going to San Francisco. It's a 45-minute flight. It's really easy. Yeah, really. It's 35 minutes, 40 minutes. And you're staying in the heart of downtown Krakow. Yeah, Lisa. Yes, and I will give you names. I mean, taxis are really waiting at the airport. It's very, very easy to get. They all speak English. It is not a problem. People wait, and we'll go through this before the trip. They want to know about money, okay? They take credit cards there. But when you come to Krakow, you go to an ATM machine and you take out zloty. It's the Polish is zloty. They do not take the euro. Yeah, Jennifer. Okay, is anybody wanting to leave the 30th in the morning? The program will end on April 30th at about 10 p.m. at night, okay? All right, right. At 1 a.m., yeah, yeah, okay. And if there is a flight, you should know, an El Al flight, it depends, that leaves 1 a.m. So we can take you from the end of the program to the airport. Exactly, okay. Kathy's doing that, okay. So again, this is my card with Lisa. You know, if you decide you want to travel, I have a lot of colleagues in Israel that I can connect you with who'd be happy to take you on if you want a private guide. You know, those kind of things. I mean, once the program ends, there's no official anything. But if there are people who want to get together and stay and extend something, I can find you a private guide in a nanosecond to do whatever you would want. Anything else before I turn it to the esteemed Rabbi Vogel?
Monique always gets worried whether she's going to have enough people to fill, right, the trip. It's really, her magic number is 30, it's really like 32 to 35. When she gets closer to 30, she starts breathing easily. We've gotten to 30, so she's very excited that when you asked Jeff the question, are we for sure on? We're for sure on, but what's interesting and great about Monique is she's going to make sure everybody who wants to in all the synagogues, even if they don't have enough, that they're going to join with another synagogue and be able to go. So she's worked very hard at that. As you do the reading and preparing for the trip, I just want to tell you that pay attention to the personal stories. The Warsaw is, I think it's the Warsaw Ghetto Diary, I think is, right, is what it's actually called, what they found in the milk barrels and what, the canisters and what I read. And it's amazing to read the story. Try and look for the personal stories about it, but I also want you to be aware of what I wrote a paper in college, the psychological warfare of the Nazis. To understand what it meant to be in the camp in 1944 45 you have to know what they went through before that. What you would do for a piece of bread. Forget about saving your life. What moral decision would it take for you to get an extra piece of bread? You know, when it comes to Passover, we break that middle matzah. It's called the bread of affliction. And we put the smaller pieces put away. It's called the bread of affliction. The larger piece, of course, is called the afikomen. So bread of affliction, why is the bread of affliction the small piece? So here's you go. When somebody is in the concentration camp and they haven't eaten and they get a piece of bread, right? What do they do with that piece of bread? The piece of bread, of course, they They eat very small portions of it. Many people, you ask that question, they say they eat the whole thing. They take a little, they eat a bite, and a bite, and a bite. And by the way, when you come back and you observe Passover the following year, you'll have a different understanding of what it means to have a piece of bread of affliction in terms of taking a small piece. But the Nazis, by the way, they first took away the elderly, the parents, then they took away the children, then they left the parents. And by the time that they sent them to the ghettos and to the concentration camps, they were broken psychologically. They knew what they were doing. Deportations were often on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, the destruction of the temple, probably the saddest day in Jewish tradition. If you saw that being posted as a Jew, you just knew that it was the end. You weren't going to fight it. The psychological warfare that was used, you have to understand what it meant to go through this over time and what it meant then to be in the camps, which was really the end of the journey and what that experience meant. And so the process here is for you to understand that as much as you can, and then to take that with you, and to turn it, by the way, into the joy of Jewish living, to make their lives matter in a very real way. That's why we're going to see. Are you working with Chazan Stein to see if we can get any of them in Warsaw? I don't know if I said last time, Chazan Stein's been training the more progressive cantors in Warsaw in terms of cantorial music, to bring back the Jewish community there. So we're hoping to have some of them perhaps meet with us and to get to know them. I'm going to say this, I am looking forward to sharing this experience with you. I am. It's a powerful experience. And as I look around, those of you I know already and those of you I'll get to know, we're going to turn this into a memorable, powerful sharing experience in which we'll all come back with a greater understanding of ourselves, the Jewish people, and the Holocaust. And we have a meeting, set up another one? Not yet, but we will. I think there's going to be another one. Any questions? Right? Lisa is great with a lot of the information, and Moniz is always available, and we'll be talking to you. All right, fine. Ken, you have a? 25th of November, that's coming up. Okay. Middle of December will be the final payment. Middle of December. Right, and Lisa will be contacting those people on the fence, and really we're at the final numbers. We're not going to go beyond 40, but to let them know that they've got to finalize, they've got to make a decision in the coming week. What was the question? The question was, should you take travel insurance? Should you take travel insurance? Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy to refer you, but please take trip cancellation insurance. It's really, really important. The March has 24/7 medical, okay? But just, we have doctors, a few Jewish doctors. Right, and travel insurance includes, of course, medical expenses, other emergency expenses. Yeah. April Protection, I can give you the names. AAA does it? Yeah. Please take it. Yeah. All right, lots of questions, and we'll share them together.
I am going on the trip. It's very funny. I'll tell you a little bit personal about as we get to know one another. About 6 weeks ago or 7 weeks ago, my daughter and her son and my son-in-law came for Shabbat dinner. And I didn't feel like cooking, so they got salads. So I was opening up all the salads in little containers, and in one of the containers was an ultrasound picture of my future grandchild. And after crying, I thought, oh my God, when are you due? The March or this. So please God, I'm old enough to have a grandson, which is hard to believe, in March. So yes, I am coming on the march in April. I am working with about 6 different delegations, but I am coming, and I will be in all the hotels. And as I said, I will be there. You'll see me. You'll be sick of my accent. But there is going to be somebody embedded in your trip. His name is Harry Silverman. He has come on many, many trips, and he will be your March to the Living representative to make sure that everything's okay. But yes, I am coming with a picture of my grandson, please God, who's healthy. Anything else? And again, thank you to Rabbi Vogel and to Lisa for doing everything, for making this a reality. And you've got my card, email, call, please don't hesitate to be in contact. And thank you again. And thank you to Connecticut for staying late. Of course, Jody. And that's